Okay, well, what can I find out about Lawrence? Okay, so I wanted to focus on my mother's father's family. That is who I was most familiar. That is who I am most familiar with in my ancestry journey, because shout out to my cousin Ashley. She actually did a lot of genealogical work on my father's side of the family. She's my paternal cousin, and because of so much work she did, I'm like, okay, well, someone's focusing on that, and let me cover my mom's side, because I, at the time, did not know of many people in my family who were doing genealogical research on specifically the Hamlin name. So this is my mother's father's family. All I've known about my mother's family is that they have been farmers. They farmed multiple different fruits and vegetables, made wine, had animals, cotton. It's the South. And I believe tobacco and possibly pecans. I would have to double check with my mom, but I know that that was the main thing, farming. This is the rural South that we're talking about, between Darlington and Florence, South Carolina. My mother is Janice. Her father is James Lee Sr. And his father was Moses Hamlin Sr. And his father was Lemuel Hamlin. So it all began with Lawrence's son, my second great grandfather, Lemuel Hamlin. I tried to see if I can find the earliest record of him. The name Lemuel isn't that common, and most of my mom's side of the family were all born, raised, died in South Carolina. So I looked into Lemuel. With that name not being as common, it wasn't too hard to find him. The earliest record I was able to find was the 1880 census. And there he was listed with both of his parents, as well as an older sister, Millie, and his parents, Lawrence and Amy Hamlin. In doing all of this, doing this digging, I and my mother had never seen a picture of Lemuel or Irene. And I thought that was shocking, but yeah, neither one of us had ever seen a picture of Lemuel and Irene. And talking to family members, again, talk to your elders, and seeing who had what records were held in the family, we got to see a photo of Lemuel for the very first time, as well as a photo of Irene for the very first time. And it's so funny, there was actually a bit of controversy over whether or not Lemuel was Lemuel or if he was his son, my great-grandfather Moses. They looked a lot alike, in my personal opinion. But it was confirmed that it was Lemuel Hamlin. And oh goodness, you know, their children look a lot like them. Of course, it's their kids. But it was so beautiful to finally put a face to a name. I'd heard this name most of my life, but I didn't really know anything about what they might have looked like, how they lived outside of, you know, agricultural living. So very, very good looking people that I come from. Now, looking a little bit more into Lemuel, I'd actually like to share a little story. So Lemuel Hamlin married a woman named Irene Dubose, right? And it's kind of well, from what I've been able to piece together based off of records alone, it is kind of a tragic love story if you think about it. They both died in 1959, the same year my mother was actually born. So she never got the chance to meet them, but they both died in January of 1959, 4 days apart. She died first, he died afterwards. And the way that I see it is, I think he was heartbroken. He just lost the love of his life. I've never seen any other record of him having any other marriage. And he just lost the love of his life and he couldn't take it. So a couple of days later, 4 days later, he passed away too. When talking to a few family members, I actually found out that in the process of the funeral planning for Irene Dubose, my second great grandmother, he actually died the day before her funeral. So they ended up having to have a double funeral for both of them. So they were actually able to, you know, kind of unite quite quickly in the afterlife. And I thought that was kind of beautiful. But just a little sidebar. Now, when I found Lemuel's earliest record, I was able to find Lawrence. Now, in digging into Lawrence, I was only able to find him on 3 census records. That's it. the 1880 census, the 1900 census, and the 1910 census. I tried to see if I can find Lawrence on the 1870 census. Nothing. I could not find Lawrence in the entire state of South Carolina. I'm like, okay, maybe there's a possibility he's from somewhere else. I could not find a Lawrence Hamlin of the age range that he said he was according to the 1880 census, well, that was recorded. I could not find him in any of the adjacent states, adjacent counties, nothing. I'm like, okay, instead of trying to go backwards, let me see if I can go forward. This is how I learned about the apparent tragedy of the 1890 census. There is only a very select few counties in the entire United States that survived this fire that destroyed almost the entire record of the entire United States 1880 census. So I think there's only like 9 counties in one part of the southern United States that has record of who was around in 1890. So nothing on 1890, which sucks. So can't find anyone in my family on the 1890 census so far. So I thought, maybe it's a mix up with the name. Let me look into his wife, my 3rd great grandmother, Amy. I tried to find more record on Amy after the 1870 census, on the 1880 census. And I actually found her on the 1870 census, which was great. She was an Amy G before she became Amy Hamlin. But Amy must have passed away before the 1890 census came out, because after that I find Lawrence in the 1900 census with another woman named Rosanna Benjamin. So I'm like, oh, okay. And I did confirm it was the same person being my 3rd great grandfather, because I actually have DNA connections who are related to Rosanna Benjamin Hamlin. Okay. I saw that Lawrence had at least 4 children with Amy, including my 2nd great grandfather, before Amy must have passed away, because I could not find anything on her anymore after the 1880 census. Besides, the latest record that I can find on Amy is their last son, Charles Hamlin. On his death certificate, his mother is listed as Amy Hamlin and not Rosanna Benjamin. And when I was looking at all of the records with Rosanna Benjamin, with Lawrence, and the children that came of that marriage, the census actually, I believe in the 1900 census and the 1910 census, they actually asked how many children does this mother have? How many are living? And the numbers did not add up with the actual children that were on the record. She only said a smaller number were hers, which led me to believe, oh, okay, so these are Amy's children. And of course she raised them, that's their mom too, but these are Amy's biological children. So I can't find Amy. I can't find more information on Lawrence besides fast forward to the 1920 census. Second wife on the 1920 census lists herself as widowed. So he passed away, but when? I could not find any record of his death. I could not find a death certificate. I could not find a grave. I went to the graveyard myself. I couldn't find it. Couldn't find any information on his possible siblings, his parents. All I know based off of his records is that he was born not too long before the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, that on some records he is listed as mulatto, and on other records he is listed as black. And on that 1880 census, the earliest record I could find him on, he lists himself as a railroad laborer. And I wonder if that had anything to do with the Pullman Company. I'm still waiting to find that out for myself. But yeah, that's all I was able to find easily in the beginning. But then